Hey guys. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start book study. We're going to do chapters 11 and 12 tonight. I'm going to kind of just, you know, brief on the things I underlined and the things that stood out to me. So, as always, if you guys have anything to add in or that you felt stood out to you, chip in your thoughts. But as always, these two chapters were very, very good. So, chapter 11 was transforming your stress response. So I loved how at the beginning, I'll just kind of skip to where it talked about the feel, reveal, and deal, and how this was a 3-step process to embrace a yes and stress mindset to feel, reveal, deal. And so what I was going to have everyone do is think about a stress right now in your lives and like jot it down or, think about it and just kind of hone in on that as we read through tonight's chapters and we kind of just talk back and forth, just because I feel like this could maybe be almost, if you haven't gotten caught up with those chapters, could be kind of a breakthrough, help you work through something with a stress in your life. Because as I was reading this yesterday, I kind of finished up the chapters and I was like, oh my gosh, this just helped me through a stress in my life. And so I thought it could help someone else through a stress or maybe even help you help your team, work through something that they're dealing with too. So write it down, take notes, do whatever you need to do with that stress that's in your life. Because we all have them. We all have that stress. We all have stresses. We all have something in our lives that, cause a little road bump every once in a while. So step 1 was the feel the stress, which can be a little bit more complex when someone's like, just feel, like get in your feels and just feel it. Right. And it's like, I like, you have this wall up, right? Sometimes you're like, okay. So I love how she broke this down. So she said, notice your emotions. And she talked about how it starts by actually feeling the stress and checking in with yourself about your emotions you are experiencing. And so she said, begin by noticing how emotions are shown up for you throughout your body, the thoughts being generated, the actions you are wanting or not wanting to take. And so as I began, I came into the week knowing that I was going to do book study on Thursdays. And usually book studies are something that I'm just not completely 100% confident in, just because I've never been a good reader. I don't enjoy to read, but it's something that I know that I need to do for my personal growth and for my business and for my team and as a leader. And so I knew going into this week, I was going to be kind of antsy, like nervous leading up to this day because I'm leading a book study. And of course, I'm just like, okay, I'm just talking to my friends. I'm just leading, we're just chit chatting back and forth and we're just talking about this book. But it always causes me anxiety. And especially on the day of when I do book study. And today I didn't have any anxiety. And of course, maybe a drink beforehand at a restaurant helped. It really did. But I was really noticing those emotions, and I really did this feel, reveal, deal step process that she talked about. And so I kind of put it into practice and I really liked it. So first begin by noticing your emotions. So she talks about there are no good or bad emotions. How you interpret or respond to them is what matters. Unfortunately, most of us have learned to ignore, resist, or fight with hard emotions. And I put on here, I like underline that. I'm like, yes, it's so true. Like we are like, nope, I'm fine. Right. Or if something comes up, we're like, nah, I like, you just kind of like fight it in your head. You're like, okay, you just like almost talk to yourself like you're not stressed about it, but you really are. But to everyone else, you're like, I'm not stressed about this, or it's not bothering me, but it really is. And I kind of put on here as a side question, like, can you relate? Have you been through that too? And so acknowledge what you're feeling is critical to moving through that emotion in the most beneficial way. And then the second thing she talked about for the stress was shift processing from, I don't know that word, to the prefrontal cortex. And I was just going to kind of skip over that part, but kind of talk a little bit about some of that because I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about on that part. But it said she said, first by naming your feeling or the experience you're having, you are not trying to change it, find the opportunity in it, or control it in any way. Second, emotions pass, which I was like, okay. And I think here, is this where she talked about the 7 thing? I don't think it is yet. Your role is simply to notice and acknowledge what you are thinking and feeling, to change your relationship with your emotions so they do not affect you as negatively or intensely, not to rid you yourself of your emotions. So avoid getting unnecessarily attached to your emotions. So I talked about this today in my stories where I've been doing this like daily checklist of things, and I had to do the dishes, and I had put I feel versus or like I don't feel like doing the dishes versus like I get to do the dishes or whatever. And it got me to thinking, you aren't your emotions or your thoughts. So just changing the way we say, I have to do these dishes, right? I don't really want to do those dishes. I hate doing dishes. I always just try to put them off so my husband will do them, which really I've been doing better about them and washing them right after we get done, eating and whatnot. But last night I didn't. And so we had dishes to do today. But I made a picture of myself, a boomerang, and I was like, okay, it's definitely a mindset game, right? It's I have to do these dishes versus I get to do these dishes. Well, why do I get to do these dishes? I have a husband. I have a family that I get to go set, at a dinner table with. I have kids that I get to wash their plates and their forks. And we had those conversations. And then it brings up memories, of the prayer that we had before the dinner. Now, does it also bring up those emotions of my kid threw threw the food down to the dog, or, all those other things? Yes, it brings up some other little stresses that maybe happened, or my kid wanted to watch TV and like we have to explain to them, no, we're not watching TV during dinner time. Yes. But it's that mindset thing of I have to do the dishes versus I get to do the dishes. Just kind of, I loved that little phrase she talked about. And then step 2 was to identify what your stress reveals. So this was the part where she talked about the reveals, and it said, the fact that we feel stress when we perceive that something we care about is at stake. And overall, we don't feel stress about things we don't care about. So I wouldn't have felt stress about this call if I didn't truly care about it. I wouldn't feel stress about, leading 6 leaders that truly want to go to Ruby. They've talked about it this month. I wouldn't feel stress about that if I didn't care about that, right? I wouldn't feel stress about, and I'm relating this to Plexus, which us that are on this call right now can too, but I wouldn't feel stress about, helping my 3 and showing up for my team and leading by example if I didn't care about that, right? And so I just thought that was something that really stuck out to me. It's like, dang, stress is just overall, so it's stuff we really truly care about that we want to go smoothly, and sometimes it doesn't. And we have to really grow through it to go through it, right? The first step, okay, let me see where I'm at.
I'm gonna interrupt you right there.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
had a thought with that too about,
Right.
good stress versus bad stress, which I talked about last week on the book study. And then obviously this relates right to it being the next chapters. But with that, I had such a reflection listening to exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes when I'm coaching people and, peeling back big layers and talking and a lot of things, one of the things I find myself saying in a very nice way, in a coachable way, but
Mm.
saying is, like if you cared about that or if it was a priority in your life, you would feel different about it. So let's talk about the way that you feel about that, you know? And so oftentimes what I notice in this business is it's like tonight, for example, a book study or a messenger event or whatever, someone who is like, oh yeah, they just put that on the back burner, put that on the back burner, and they don't make that a priority in their business. It's not even a concern, it's not a stress, it's not even on their radar, right? And those people don't have a strong why. So their emotion is not attached to why they're doing this, which in their end, they'll always fizzle. It's a constant vicious cycle. And I can say this to y'all, we're all friends and be very
Yeah.
real. Um, those people are in such a hamster wheel with business that I've seen so many come and go and come and go. I'm like, I sit there as a diamond, as a coach and a mentor. I'm like, they're not going to make it. Like they're not going to make it unless, Like they can, but right now, like they won't. There's no way to move past that because if you feel so powerful about something, you have a sense of an emotion that you can't even begin to explain because you take ownership over your business. That you're like, no, I get to do that because I'm a leader of a team. I show up, because I'm a leader of 3 people or 1 people or 17 people, I get to do that. And so I had such a big reflection with that because I can easily, as a human myself, get frustrated with people of like, why would they quit? Why would they not? Like, I'm like, but it's like, if you don't feel that stress about it, you don't feel that ownership, then you're not going to make it. You have to feel such an ownership of like, it's on me, even though we're creating leaders through the process and we're delegating tasks and we're learning all of those things. We have to have such a sense of ownership over it, or that stress isn't a stress in a good way, which is the good stress versus bad stress. So all that to say, I had big reflections with that. I really like that part.
Yeah, I also kind of I don't know if you guys did you guys listen to Brittany Howard's podcast today? Did you guys get caught up? It reminded me of that too. It's just like those mindsets that people have, and not to say that we haven't had them too, but we've worked through them, because we care about that why, and we keep pushing forward because we see that vision in hindsight, right? And so it really got me, reflecting today because some of those questions that she talked about being salesy, I could relate to too. And it's like, okay, well, I've worked through those. So how can I help someone work through that? And it's just like Jill just talked about, it goes back to people even just plugging in, we can do all we can to tell them about these things, and it's their choice to get themselves here. So that
Can I say something?
yeah.
Is that okay? I had two reflections during that part. One would be, I know all of us are moms or some sort of mom, right? And I newly have a kid every other week at my house after watching a kid all day, right? And there are times I come home and I'm like just so tired. Like she pooped 7 times. I'm up and down the stairs 25, and I'm just like, man, I'm tired. But Elliot wants to play a game. And I had to like tell myself, instead of like what I would do at my apartment is go shut myself in my room and like zone out,
Yeah.
is like, I prayed for this. Like, this is a why of mine. I want to be a mom. I love that I have a kid here who wants to hang out with me. So I do some big reflection on that, when really what was causing that stress was me not prioritizing or doing whatever I need to do on the drive home to recharge my battery, to be a better mom when I'm home. And then like where that stress was coming from, instead of like, oh, I have to go home and play Go Fish 10 times. No, instead I'm like, I get to go home and play Go Fish with my family. And like, how fun, like I'm loving it. And so that was like a thing I had to adjust to. So I found that there, because I know all y'all are moms. And sometimes it's like, if my kid says mom one more time, if my kid says mom one more time, you know what I mean? Like I told Carter today, I changed my name. It's not Jen no more. So there's that. No, but you know what I mean? So it's like, instead, it's like, we prayed for that. You prayed to come out of the classroom, to be here with your kids. Although it's hard, sometimes we have to like reevaluate that. And the way we say it, if I get to do this, although sometimes it's like, I'm never your neck. I get to do this, and then with business, being bold, especially since it's a recording, people who are starting out and sharing or messaging or posting, we have to, like Joel always says, pull back the layers of the onion. And a lot of times they don't do things because why? They're scared of rejection, which deep down is a no, but deep down it's like the rejection. You don't want to feel rejected. That's not a fun feeling. Or you're afraid you're going to lose these friends. But deep down, really, we got to focus on our why, like Jill said. And why are we doing this? They don't pay my bills. Like I got $800 car payment. Susie Q over here rolled her eyes at me. That's fun. But somebody got to pay my car payment, So it's like, even starting out, the reason why is because we feel stressed out to do it, but really it's what fear built from anxiety of what rejection, which is something you had to work through. But I got those two reflections, and y'all both touched on that, but I thought that was pretty cool for life and for our business.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for sharing that.
I feel like that's one of my like biggest stances and plexus with like being a diamond in business owner. So snippet, you'll get to know one of my convention segments is about it starts with you. And so anyways, I did a run through with the rehearsal program today, and it's such a passion of mine of like, we have to sit there and think about that. It starts with me. My son's not going to know how to pray before dinner unless I do that. My whatever that, he's not going to know to say yes, ma'am, unless I say yes, ma'am. What is important to me? Like we take that into our home, but like Now I want you to think about that with business. When you close your eyes and you picture yourself as the arrival spot that you think is the arrival spot, whatever that is for you, ruby, emerald, sapphire, diamond, triple diamond, whatever. What leader are you? Like, what leader is that? You know, are you the leader that doesn't check her phone 3 weeks out of the month and says, my team will do it, they'll figure it out? Or are you the leader that is logging into a book study every single week and you don't miss a week? You know? And so I take that very big with ownership. You know, what kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of team do you desire to have? And that again goes back to the stress of, I've got to sign into another book study. I've got to be on another call. And I check myself constantly with that. I have to recommit daily. We all do. Like, I get to do that because I lead a team that I've prayed for, that I wanted to control my hours and my time. Like, I get to do that. Like, it's not another thing. And we can easily be like, another thing, another thing, another thing. But we're going at the why with a different mindset than we should. So I don't know. It's one of my biggest things. Like, it starts with us. So if we're bitching and complaining about it, don't you think that's going to be the team that you reflect? People who don't show up and bitch and complain, you know? So I don't know. I loved that part of it. I had a lot of reflections with it.
And I can say, like, us that are, on here, Lee, Jen, Marissa, like, and myself, I feel like have such high standards to show up to book studies and to Monday meetups all the time and to recommit, because we have such great leaders like you and like Rachel, because you guys aren't those diamonds and those uplines that are just checking your phones 3 times out of the month. You are there daily. You are pouring into us and our teams and your level 5s and your 6s and your 8s and your 9s. Like, you don't care. And that is truly the leader I want to be. And so I feel like if we can be that role model too, then our teams and then their teams will want to be the same way. And so it starts with you, Jill, but then I want to say it's not ricocheted. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like catapult. What is the word I'm looking for? Yeah. You know what I mean? Down to us. It's like just, came down to us. So anyway, I'm going to kind of skip around since you guys keep chiming in and doing your thing. I'm going to go to step 3, which was deal, which we kind of went through. Deal with the stress and move forward to your goals. Stop fighting the reality. Get clear with your goals. Take actions towards what matters. And we just kind of hit on all that. I'm going to kind of skip. Let's see. Completing the stress cycle. So let me see. I put on here. Okay, let me read. So it says stress itself is not bad or unhealthy. However, one major contributor to the unhealthy effects of stress is the inability to get a break from it to recover. So really what she said is there's a 4th step, which I thought was kind of eye-opening. The 4th step is to heal and to create space between you and stress so you can redirect your efforts to recover, replenish, and rejuvenate your energy, which if we want to be those leaders that shows up, and even when we don't want to, but we show up anyway, we've got to rest. We've got to take those days. Hold on. My dog is scratching at the door and we walked her in here with me. But I put on here, hold on. Let me let her out real quick. Here you go. Just gotta go potty. I said mine was to start working out. What did I put on the notes? But it wasn't just to start working out for me. My healing for what I was going through, a few months ago was to really get in a community outside of Plexus, to meet new people in a new state where I had just came from, right? I had to find a new me, not just my Plexus family that I have here, which I love all of you dearly, but it was to find a new Kelsey in a state that I'm at, And so I put that kind of like as that was my healing spot. And you guys all have your own too, like your healing spot that you're in or you've done to heal for that 4th step. If you're willing to accept that complicity brings opportunity, embracing the paradox of stress can be freeing, which I thought isn't to pursue a life without stress. It's found in a life full of the things that matter. And I put heart that's so true. All right, on to chapter 12. I'm going to kind of skim through some things that I thought were really important. Let me see. Okay. Small, meaningless daily frustration drain our time and energy, and they leave us annoyed long after the stress has passed. Unless we actively reset our perspective, it gets harder to see these frustrations as something that everyone experiences. Instead, they start feeling like one big burden that we're uniquely forced to deal with, keeping us from the happiness and success that we're supposed to have. And I was like, ooh, that part, we have to reset our perspective. We are the ones that are in charge, or, of our mindset to, if we're feeling those things and our stress is spiraling, we've got to say, hey, I've got to reset. We've got to go back to those key indicators of what is draining us, what is stressing us. Remember, go back to what are some emotions, go back to those feelings. What are those red flags? And the quote on the page of 158 was, when stress feels meaningful, people are more likely to persevere, which I loved that. Hedge strategies. Okay, so let's talk about these before we end tonight. So the hedge strategies, 3 things that affect the impact of stress of your health and your work vitality quotient as a whole. If you get a break from stress, what you believe about the nature of stress and how you respond to these, you respond in the face of stress. So there were 4 of the most powerful and easily accessible perspective shifts. So it was the jump to, decide to, add to, and the get to hedge strategies. And so what did she say? These 4 simple word-based perspective shifts help you act on what you can control, you and your responses. So she talks about the jump to perspective first. So the first perspective, the jump to perspective shift, is mentally jumping to the future you or past you. So the reality is no one is productive every day. When you face a hard day, start with self-compassion and ask yourself, what is the kindest, most helpful thing I can do for myself right now to make tomorrow better? Which I thought was very true. It's very true. Start by asking yourself, when has past me experienced a moment like this? What wisdom from previous experiences can I draw on to help me in this situation? And then the decide to, let it go. Not everything needs to be a battle, nor does everything deserve the same level of time, energy, and attention. So we get to decide that. Okay. The next time and I'm just kind of like reading things that I underlined because I'm like, I don't know what else to really chit chat about, because really this is my book, you guys. I underlined everything. I'm like, I don't know I'm not going to sit and make notes on what to talk about, because this is everything you can talk about. But these questions here I thought were pretty good that you could reflect on. Will this frustration matter 7 years from now? And I thought about that to myself when I was stressing about this, leading this call. I'm like, will it matter, 7 minutes from now? Will it matter 7 years from now? I loved that rule of 7 by 7, that practice she talks about. What about 7 months from now? What about 7 weeks, days, hours, whatever from now? Okay, I'm going to skip around. If you guys have anything to add.
I feel like if we did that practice like over and over and over every day, like our entire life would change. Like truly, if you sat there and thought about it, like the simplest thing of even like your kid not putting on the shoes that you wanted them to put on. Like I'm real big about like, Griggs, we're not wearing those shoes. Like those are play shoes, and then you're like, in the end, is that gonna matter tomorrow? Like, no. Like, what's the big deal? So I don't know. That to me was like, I'm gonna start checking my thoughts like does this matter in 7 seconds or 7 minutes? Like that's gonna be my new motto in life. It doesn't matter in 7 minutes, and I'm moving on.
Yeah, I said that to myself too. I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep this rule of 7 in my brain. What is it? The prefrontal, what does she talk about? I don't know what that word is. That's something with the brain.
The prefrontal
Yeah, the
cortex.
prefrontal something. I'm gonna keep it there, and I'm just gonna keep it right here and think about that for a while.
That's what I'm trying to remind. I give y'all full out permission. If I ever come to you in a moment, I'm just like, blah, be like, is this gonna matter in 7 seconds? And I promise I won't get offended.
You'll be like, okay,
for 7 minutes.
All right, I'm just gonna end this with something at the end, which I was like, amen. It says, something remarkable happens when you are intentional about how you look at your life. And I was like, boom. I was like, amen to that. It's true. It's because, like we said, we're always going to have these stressors in our lives, and we can either choose to, let them define us or take over. But we have, like Jen, she's being a great friend right now, even though she might just be there to hang out and chill with Lee. But, we have people to lean on. We have a team to lean on, and we have our spouses to lean on those people, but also use the skills that we've learned through this book and help, your team and help your friends, if they have those signs of stresses, and help them relieve them. So do you guys have anything else you want to add?